Welcome to the Interrogation True Crime Stories podcast. All the stories told on this show are either fabricated, alleged, or didn't happen at all and shouldn't be used in the court of law. We hope. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Corey. Just wanted to give you a little heads up about what's going on with the podcast and the live show and stuff like that. Truth be told, I'm swamped these days. I'm working a full-time job, managing my comedy career, and running this podcast, trying to go on tour with the storytelling show, and it's all a little bit overwhelming. I haven't really been able to put out as many clips as I was at one point, just because that stuff's labor-intensive as well. So I just wanted to say if I'm ever late on an episode, I try to put them out every Wednesday first thing, or if I'm slacking a little bit in some area, it's not because I don't care. It's because I get a little behind sometimes, and I know that I'm still really enjoying doing this podcast. I'm having a great time doing the live show. Life just kind of catches up to you sometimes, and I'm doing my best. I'm running all this stuff by myself. So if you are listening, you are watching, I really appreciate you being there. It means a lot. And with this particular episode, we had some video cut out a little bit, so there's a part in there that there's no video, but it picks back up. And if you haven't already, like, review, subscribe, do the whole thing. All that stuff adds up. I'm trying to get to a point where I really don't have to work a day job anymore. And the only way I can do that is to keep getting better at comedy, keep getting more followers, more listeners. So that way I have ways of picking up sponsors and getting more people to the live show, that sort of thing. So just kind of wanted to give you guys a spiel a little bit on what's going on with me, and if you're noticing any inconsistency with the show. And I'm always open to feedback, too. If you have anything that you think would help or you think would be cool, just let me know. Shoot me a DM and enjoy the show. You're like one of the goofiest people I've ever met in my entire life. And I mean that, and I hope you know I mean that in the most endearing way.
Roger that.
Yeah. I applaud goofiness and silliness in any capacity in life. Seriously, I don't like it when people take themselves too seriously. I make dumb noises and say things wrong all the time.
My high school English teacher wrote that in my letter of recommendation.
Oh, really?
She said, while Kate takes her studies very seriously, she never takes herself too seriously.
Oh,
so wow. I must have been silly even back then.
Just unbeknownst to you.
It
wasn't intentional.
To me. Yeah.
It just comes out of you.
But if I went back recently and read all of my high school yearbooks because I had this perception of myself as like nerd and had no friends, and I went back just out of curiosity. I did sign my own yearbook several times in boys' handwriting, being like, get
out of here, seriously?
You're beautiful.
Just from a boy from a different school or what?
No, I just, would write like James. And then everyone would be like, what James is that? And I'd be like, oh, I don't know. He didn't sign his last name.
Yeah, it's just a mystery.
Yeah.
People just keep walking off with my yearbook and writing sweet nothings to me about having a great summer. You're like, hey, do you think we could do hand stuff in July?
I made Facebook profiles too. Like I'd go find pictures of teenage boys.
No, you catfished? Were you
a
catfisher?
Myself. So I'd make a profile, then I'd write on my wall like, "You're so beautiful.
Get
I love hanging out with you." And then, no one ever brought it up, but the hope was that someone would see that I was like.
She's got stuff going on. Yeah, she's got things cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all these dudes that want to hang out with Kate.
Yeah.
Was that more of? Do you feel like that was definitely like an insecurity thing?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was just like you wanted to feel, like you just didn't feel like people liked you like that?
No one did.
No one did?
Here's the thing.
That's bullshit. I'm calling a little bit of bullshit because I think at the time you don't realize people do. But then I've had conversations with like women that I went to high school with like years later, and they were like, oh, I totally would have went out with you. Like I totally, it's that classic kind of like, wait a minute, you had a crush on me the whole time? I had a crush on you the whole time.
I think I was confused about my sexuality because what I was waiting for was a boyfriend and to kiss a boy, which never happened in high school.
Sure.
But I had kissed from third grade on pretty much every girl I was ever at a sleepover with and every girl I ever played softball with.
Oh, for real?
And so I probably had like 86 women kisses
You had a lot of experience
under my belt, but I was like, you still haven't been kissed.
That's so lame.
And I went to college. I remember I went to a frat party, like probably my first month after getting in college, and I made out with a boy on the dance floor, and I was like, that's my first kiss.
The first official, right? Yeah. It's the first one that counts on the board in the eyes of the Lord.
Yes.
Right? Like,
in the eyes of the Lord, yeah.
So wait a minute. Even with all of those, like all those kisses that you had with other girls, like there was no part of you that was like, oh, I'm definitely like, I'm a lesbian. Like no. I'm not.
I don't think I figured it out until 2020.
Yeah, it's recent.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you were dating dudes when we met.
Yeah. A dude. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, men in general.
I had, like, you know, I'd hooked up with a lot of, like, things would happen. Like, I lived with these two girls who were super hot, like, rich Californian type girls.
I can tell by
like,
the way you're dancing. You're like, this is what hot girls
long,
do.
beautiful hair and wore all the cool outfits. That was like the first people I lived with out of college.
Uh-huh.
And they'd have friends visit, and for whatever reason their friends would always end up staying in my room and we'd hook up.
Yeah.
But my roommates didn't know that. So then they would just be like, it's so weird whenever I have friends in town, they sleep in your room. And I'd be like, yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah, it's weird. Word got out that Kate puts out.
Yeah. But I wasn't like putting that out there. There was just like an energetic thing that would always happen. And then I'd be like, I don't know, I hooked up with another girl. But I never thought.
But I'm not gay or nothing.
Yeah, I'm not gay. I never figured it out. I don't know. Even now, I don't even know. A lot of my new material is about how I think right now I'm single for the first time in a long time. I'm going to stay that way. But a lot of my new material is about how, like, even when I think about a penis, I'm like, no. But when I think about a vagina, I'm like, no.
Oh, so you're just not even...
The only thing I like for sure is boobs.
Yeah.
And so now I have this new bit where I'm like, I just want to... I have to find somebody with, like, titties up top and down below. And it basically, the punchline is that I think I want to fuck a cow. But I do a bunch of act outs about being like... It's
I
like
think
tits everywhere.
Boobs are, I would like to think, are universal. You know, like,
yeah, everybody likes boobs.
Even if you're not turned on by them, like if you're a gay man or something like that, like you can appreciate like a great pair of boobs. They're just lovely. They're wonderful.
They are.
Yeah. So
Real
I'm
nice.
right there with you.
Real good.
All right, so we should probably start the podcast. I'm your host, Corey David. Today we have a special guest, friend of mine, amazing Denver comedian, Kate Strobel.
Hello.
Now that we've learned so much about each other.
We have. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Excited to be here.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you were younger, like when did you first start like messing around with girls then? Like was it like 12, 13, like that age? Because I had my first kiss when did you have your first kiss? Mine was 12 years old.
I think it was in third grade, which I think you're 10. Yeah, you turn on. I think you turned 10 in third grade. But I remember a sleepover in third grade. I had been exposed to things on the internet at age 7 because my brother's 8 years older than me. My sister's 6 years older than me. So they were in high school when I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
And they were like on AOL Instant Messenger and they were downloading. It wasn't necessarily like porn that you could download yet, but you'd download files of like images.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I just knew stuff, but I remember at this third grade sleepover, I made all the girls pull their pants down. And I wanted to see who had the longest pubes, but nobody
had them.
No one had any pubes.
Did you have pubes?
No one had any pubes.
But it was just like you'd heard about them.
But like, yeah, I guess I had like gone onto the computer and seen some images that my brother had like downloaded.
If I remember correctly, those were primetime landing strip years. It wasn't Bush, and it wasn't completely shaven. But when we were, because I'm 34. How old are you again?
33.
Yeah. Our age was like, when especially when it was just the images and it really wasn't anything else yet. I think the landing strip was in its heyday.
It was for sure. But I also remember taking baths with my mom, and she had huge bush. So I think I was like aware of this thing that would happen down there, but why I was a predator and was like, everybody take your pants off. But I remember at that sleepover we kissed. I kissed at least 2 of the girls.
Pants are on or off at this point.
So probably like 10.
Yeah.
Well,
I think I was the same thing when I was that age. I would think you just start like right when you're hitting puberty, like right before, you're just curious. You're just like,
yeah.
And I think especially because we got exposed like really early from being like a part of that dial-up age where we had a fucking sex box in our living rooms, like from a very early period of time. Like it just kind of piques that curiosity like even more. And you already get like, you see some of it on the internet and you're like, are you guys seeing this? And talk to everybody at school about. I remember the first time I ever masturbated, like the next week or so at school, all of a sudden you start talking to other people about it. And they're like, you do that too? Yeah, man. And I remember.
Don't know what the word for it is.
Yeah, don't really know, right? We're just kind of describing the action. And I remember there was this kid, Jack Vendetti, who was like a grade younger than us. And he overheard us. Like there was like 4 of us having this conversation. And he like kind of hangs himself over the seat. And he's like, yeah, when you guys are done.
You play with your wiener too?
Yeah. And when you guys are done, does the fizz come out? And we're like, shut the fuck up, Jack.
The fizz.
I mean, he wasn't terribly off, and it's not like we knew what we were talking about either.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, maybe he was fizzing.
I mean, could you imagine if it was more sudsy? Like a soap? Well, damn, dude. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself. First and foremost, where can they find you, like your website and that kind of stuff? We do that. We try to get that out of the way early.
Yes. My name is Kate Strobel, Strobel. I'm on Instagram mostly. I'm kind of on TikTok. I just got it, but I don't really do it.
Sure.
But on both, I'm at Kate Strobes. All my friends call me Strobes. It's like a strobe light, strobe, what's up? Because I cause seizures. I don't know.
It's a fun nickname.
It is a fun nickname.
And you do sometimes look like you're having a seizure.
Yes. That's pretty much most of my act outs are just me being like.
It's a lot of jerky motions.
My website is katestrobel.com. I have all my show dates on there. And most of the work I do is with a group called Firecracker Comedy. We have 2 monthly shows in Denver, one at Hooked on Colfax, which is a really cool coffee shop, one at Mushroom Studios, which is a very cool tattoo shop. So they're pretty like DIY indie shows, cool vibe.
Yeah.
And we're actually about to go on our first little tour. We're going to Iowa and Kansas City.
Yeah. What prompted those places of all of them?
People booked us.
Yeah, that was it, right? Like it literally just came together that way.
Yeah, I think we wanted to drive somewhere and have like our first official road tripping to gigs experience. And the club in Des Moines, Teehees, and the club in Iowa City, Joystick, were like, we'd love to have you. And then we just kind of planned to drive down to Kansas City because we have some friends in Kansas City that put on a show for us. And then we'll just drive back to Denver overnight.
Yeah.
So
okay.
We'll have our first we're driving all night through the flatlands. Who knows what's gonna happen? You know, and we're gonna fuck a lot of people. We're gonna fuck a lot of people on the road. It's
just
gonna be
between
crazy.
The 3 of you,
yeah.
just getting after.
We're all single, so
yeah.
Who knows what can happen?
Well, as long as you're supportive of that, you know, it's like. You know, sometimes groups are like, no, you got to stay with the group. You can't just be wandering off.
Yeah.
She's like, no, we're encouraging everybody to go separate ways at the end of the night.
I think we'd need to do like a vibe check.
Yeah, of course.
If we were like, I'm going to leave with this person, you have to be like, let's ask them some questions first.
Do a little interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, with the show itself, just so people are aware, it's a more traditional, it's like a traditional stand-up show in a sense, right? Like it's just, there's not, you guys aren't doing sketches and stuff at the beginning, are you?
We open with like a sketch. So it's 3 people, myself, Salma Zaki, and Gabby Gutierrez-Reed. And we always open the show by doing, it's mostly just based on our lives. We'll be like, what were you up to this week? And we'll just kind of riff and do jokes or talk about past shows or things that we've experienced that we think are funny. Like right now, all 3 of us are single. So like we've been opening up the shows with just like dating nightmare stories.
Yeah.
And and then we'll have like a couple of guests on the show. But for the road format of the show, all 3 of us are like co-headlining. So we'll each do 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. But our normal stand-up show in town is more like, you know, all the comics do 10 minutes and we just have a good time and it's real low key. We are sponsored by Ratio Beer Works. We have their beer.
That's dope.
It's really fun. I think it's unlike any other show in that we're very we want it to feel like a community. We're very welcoming. If you can't afford a beer, we'll give it to you. Like whatever. We just want to hang out and have a good time. So very community focused show.
Yeah. What was kind of like when you guys first started talking about putting that together? Was that mostly after after Rita's was done and then you were kind of looking for your next thing?
Yeah. I think I went through a year. I ran a show at this bar called Rita's Law. It was a weekly show and it happened during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So it was kind of one of the few weekly shows in Denver for about a year and a half because we were able to do it outside, socially distanced. And it garnered a pretty big following, was sold out every week. We had awesome comics coming into town doing the show. And it really like gave me this sense of purpose and taught me that I loved producing because I hadn't produced before that. Mm-hmm. And then the bar unfortunately closed because of COVID. They had only been open 8 months before COVID and just couldn't make it financially. And after that, I was like, what am I like? Who even am I in Denver comedy if I don't run this show?
It became your whole identity.
Yeah,
like I don't even have purpose. This thing that only existed for 8 months. You're like, who? I don't even have a purpose here anymore. Yeah, well, I mean, it was an amazing show. You did an awesome really job with it. I think you kind of established yourself during that show as like one of the best hosts and like producers of a show in town.
Yeah, I didn't even know that I was good at producing or hosting, so that was really cool. I think I missed that. But even after we started Firecracker, I felt like I was missing something still because at this show at Rita's, like I'd climb over this fence and like jump off of stuff and like
it's wild.
Throw Jello shots. And I've always wanted to have more of like a punk rock aesthetic to my shows where like I come out screaming and we're all like, ah! And maybe there's like a mosh pit and some crowd surfing.
Maybe just dabble. Yeah.
Would be the ideal. And so even up until we started our second show through Firecracker, I was like, I feel like I'm missing something. Like I just want to like, I remember posting to my story, like, I want a bar where I can jump off the bar and onto people and we can all like go crazy. And then the show starts and like explained this concept to many bars and people and they were like, no.
Yeah, but you're just like channeling your inner Ben Roy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I say like, I think that's like, I try to remind myself to do that sometimes before I go on stage, just like be Ben Roy in the sense of like that spastic kind of chaotic energy. And if you just like want to do something kind of crazy, like just do it and just don't think about it.
And I love doing it. Actually, we were just in Trinidad for the Chief Comedy Festival and did a Firecracker show there. But the last year we did a Firecracker show there and I jumped on this table, like kind of just like belly flopped onto it to like slide down on my stomach and just be like, yeah, to start the show. And unfortunately I didn't realize it looked like a nice sturdy table, but it was just a folding table and it like completely collapsed. So I started the show by completely smashing one of their tables and then just getting up and being like, yeah, comedy time.
Well, honestly, that seems like what you would have wanted.
Yeah.
Like if you can't just be jumping onto tables and expecting them not to fucking break. I think that would be whether it took you by surprise or not. That's the goal.
Did. Yes. But yeah, I think I was looking to produce something. Gabby and Salma had run a show together at Hooked on Colfax. And yeah, we all just kind of got drinks one night and we're talking about what if we started a group and just did it. And then we were thinking of names and I kept being like, I just imagine us like running around on the poster holding like fireworks and like, I don't know, like about to blow stuff up.
Yeah.
And then Gabby was like, what if we called it Firecracker?
Yeah, that's dope.
And then we were like, oh yeah, that's like high-spirited women are firecrackers. So yeah, we were like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think when we started our second show at Hooked, that feeling that I had of like, I'm missing something, that went away. I think I just was used to producing a weekly show and then was producing a monthly show and was like, now we're bi-weekly and I'm like, that's the perfect amount.
Yeah, that's the amount that's like maintains your sanity, but also like fulfills that need in you to be on stage, but also it's your show and you take a lot of pride in it. And manicuring, like I always like to think about like the stuff that I produce, like I'm trying to manicure fun. Like
Me
I'm
too.
trying
That's
to
all
cultivate a good time, you know, like that's all I really want. I take a lot of pride in the people that came to the show having fun and a lot of pride in like the comics having a great time. Like I want everybody that like performed on the show to like feel like they had a good time when they like, because they slotted out that night to do your thing.
Yeah.
So like they could have done something else, but they wanted to perform. And like if they just, I think regardless of even the audience themselves, like obviously you want the audience to be great, but more than that, I want to like take care of everybody. So that way they feel like even if maybe they didn't have a great set, they're like, you're like kind of, you're taken care of here. You know?
Well, that's why you're a good producer.
I try.
Yeah. And that's why your show is really fun.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
But yeah, I feel the same way. Like it's always good to have the show that comics are like, that was really fun.
Yeah.
That was really, really fun.
Agreed. All right. Before we get into your story, let's cover a few dumb crimes of the week that I found on the internet. So I'm going to read the headline. You just give me your first general impression of it, and we'll go from there. Sound good?
Yes.
Sick. All right. 500 pounds of cooked pasta was dumped along a New Jersey stream. It is now a local political issue. Any thoughts?
500 pounds. I'm like 180.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like 2.5 of me.
Yeah. It's a lot of pasta.
What kind of pasta?
It looks like spaghetti.
Spaghetti.
Yeah. It looks
and
like
it was
long
cooked.
it could be angel hair.
How did this come to be?
So nobody's quite sure, but she was taken to the area to see for herself and decided to snap some photos. The town was previously alerted and did not respond to the pasta dump, she said. So somebody's covering this up.
So someone truly cooked 500 pounds of pasta.
Yeah.
Put it in something.
Yeah.
Took it to the river.
Well, I think the detail here that I think is hilarious is that somebody had reported the pasta and the police did nothing. So then they called like a higher up authority. She was a member of the council in the town's 6th ward. And they were like, and then it took a second call. So that's what I'm saying. I think that it might have been like a police dinner. Or something like
They're
that.
like, we don't know anything about that.
Yeah, just sweep it under the rug. Just like typical small town corruption. Just like, we don't know anything about the goddamn pasta. So let's see. Her post, which included 8 photos of the mounds of cooked spaghetti. Oh, wait, hold on. There's more. I just showed you the one file. It looks like bales of hay.
Yeah, it looks like bales of hay or straw, just huge piles of
spaghetti,
it on the side of
elbows,
the
and
river.
ziti dumped along a 20. I mean, and this is a proud Italian area of the country. This is blasphemy for some people.
Oh my gosh. You just see like the deer by the river, like.
Just asking where the sauce is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that happens.
No, I mean, it had to be, I would imagine, garbage bags. Because it's not like you can't cook all that in like a big pot. Right. Or it would just be maybe 1,000 individual tiny bowls.
Yeah. I have no idea.
No suspects have been identified, and it was also unclear if police were looking into the incident.
I mean, I guess I get that, if the spaghetti's not going to hurt anyone.
I don't think so. But what if we find out that it could be like a
bad for the
situation?
ecosystem.
Yeah, bad for the
fish have spaghettied themselves too much. They're exploding from the inside out.
Yeah, all of a sudden
they're stuffed with
everything in the forest just has a taste for
ziti. All the animals come marching into town to the Italian restaurant.
Sorry, we're booked on reservations tonight. The entire herd came out. So what would you say? Like, have you ever like dumped like a lot of like trash someplace and just kind of like left it?
I have not.
Yeah.
But last weekend I threw a banana peel out of my car and I felt bad about it.
I imagine.
Yeah.
You seem like the kind of person that would weigh on you.
I've been thinking about it.
Did you want to go back for it?
The circumstances were such that the other person in the car couldn't stand the smell of banana and it's biodegradable. So I was like, okay. But that's probably the only thing I've ever really littered. And I am very much like, after every show, after anything, I pick up like every little speck of anything.
Yeah, because you're a good person. You don't want somebody else
to
do it.
I've never had a large scale trash dump.
I think the worst, I mean, not even worst, but, just like if I'm camping or if I have an excessive amount of garbage from one thing or another.
I have left turds everywhere in the woods.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that's also considered littering.
I have dumped. Now that you mention
More
it.
literally and figuratively, while eating a bowl of pasta that you just found in the woods. You're like,
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, I just hit the jackpot. There's a bunch of baked ziti out here. Well, I just went to go take a dump, and I found 500 pounds of spaghetti.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so like I think when just leftover bullshit from like maybe moving or whatever, you just throw it in like a restaurant's dumpster or just like a small business.
Yes.
And just get the fuck
Yes,
out
I've
of
done
there.
that.
Yeah. Nobody's
Sushi Bay on 17th Street was filled with my belongings for
full of your
weeks.
stuff. Just one at a time. All right, next one. Illinois man allegedly caught performing coitus on a horse while standing on a 5-gallon bucket feeding it apples. Now,
Okay.
seem perplexed.
Well, like, I'm just trying to get the visual right. He's standing on a 5-gallon bucket. He's fucking the horse from behind and
gotta
reaching
imagine.
around and feeding it
I mean,
apples.
yeah. So is it supposed to
Like a
look
gag.
a ball gag? That's what I was
Apple
thinking.
gag.
The problem is that the horse just keeps eating the gag, so he's got to keep doing it over and over. It's like got a bushel of apples. That's what was in the bucket ahead of time. he's just running through apples like crazy.
Yeah. I mean, how do you even have that long of a reach on the horse?
Well, yeah, that's the thing. He's either got a huge dong or he's got. Oh, wait a minute. So it says performing coitus. It doesn't mean that he
He could be
the
fucking
horse.
it in the mouth.
Yeah, and all you got to do, or yes, he could be fucking it in the mouth, but also would make it the chewing complicated
Right.
with the apple. But the horse is fucking him, and then all he has to do is like put his hand behind his head, and then the horse is getting a double treat, getting in the mouth and in the
I
dick.
see.
I think that's the way it makes sense in my.
The horse was fucking him.
Yeah, I would imagine. Like how else? Like you imagine? Like you
Did
said.
it say the horse was performing coitus?
No, I'm just doing critical thinking. I'm just using my public school education to put this math together.
Okay. So he's like stomach on the bucket, ass up. Horse's dick is in his butt.
Yeah.
He's reaching up.
Yeah,
Apple time.
yeah. Like literally and figuratively dangling a carrot.
Didn't a man die from being penetrated by a horse?
Oh, you're talking about Mr. Hands.
Is that who it is?
That's the famous one. I'm sure there were others, but Mr. Hands was the famous.
He died. It just ripped him.
Oh yeah, just tore him apart.
He bled to death.
Yeah.
Okay.
From what I've understood, it went on for a little while. Like it was good for a minute, and then at the end is when it went awry.
Oh my God.
That's where it really went the other way.
I know. I think he was fucking the horse. I think it's too hard to get a horse penis into your boat, into the booty,
To Djibouti.
into your booty.
I agree with you. Like it's a huge dong. Like horses do have massive dicks, but I know for a fact that people do get fucked by horses. It is a thing. And the only reason I'm saying that it might not have been him fucking the horse is the original point that you brought up. How the hell is he? It's got to be the only way it works is if it's a mini horse.
Right.
That is the only way.
Does this say anything about the
size?
stats on?
How big of a horse are we
Is it
talking?
a racing horse?
Let me see if I can
Has
find
it
a
ever
little bit.
competed in any sort of competition?
Oh, wait, hold on. So the outlet further reported that during his first appearance in court, Brenner explicitly stated that blank stands accused of having placed his penis inside of the horse. So you were right. You feel better about it?
Yeah.
Because regardless of what happened here, I was at least correct.
Yeah.
Did you know I'm reading...
I mean, that can't... How tight is a horse's ass? Like...
It can't be that. Like, it's
Yeah.
got to be, like, pretty loose. In comparison... Like, tight for
I
a
just
horse.
feel like there are better things to fuck.
Yeah, but I think it's accessible. I think that's what it really is. Like, nobody's around. Somebody's looking at you from across the barn with sexy eyes. Oh.
Poor horse. I have seen a horse masturbate. I guess when they...
What? With the hooves?
Well, no, they like flap the dick up against their stomach.
Oh, they
like,
just keep hitting it, like,
and
a
they
lot?
hit it. Yeah.
Oh, that's like the first time I masturbated.
Really?
No.
Slam
Not
in
exactly.
flapping it up.
Yeah, just belly slapping yourself.
And I watched it for way too long. I will admit, I was like, whoa, because he was hard. He was erect, and it was huge. And then the weird thing is that when he was done, then it's still hanging, like long, so big, and then it kind of like slinkies back up.
It just like goes inside.
Yeah.
Very slow, like ominously slow.
Yeah, like retracts back up.
Like a laser beam on a UFO.
This is insane.
I'm reading a book about the like history of the U.S. criminal justice system, and I realized that
Corey.
Well, I don't know. I just like, for the sake of the show, I mean, between this and the live show, I'm like, I should probably know a little bit about like the history of crime in the U.S. I've always been intrigued about like sociology, like and why cultures act a certain way based on precedent, based on like the history of like why this thing came to be. And the most common crime when people settled here from Europe was bestiality. That was like the number one reported crime.
And were there the same types of animals in Europe?
Well,
or do you think they were like, oh, what's this? I've never seen a pony and it has a butthole.
Not like this. Well, everybody got to figure it's got to be a conglomeration of people moving from all kinds of places.
They obviously had horses.
There could be an Italian horse. Could have been an Italian horse that they'd never met before, never seen.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was more of why, like, when you were like, why would you do it? And I'm like, I think it's because, like, nobody's around and you just want to put your dick in something. That's where I think that's the essence of it. I don't think people are attracted to animals per se, but they are like, they want to get off.
That's crazy.
Without just rubbing their balls. So
you men are wild.
We're not, I mean, as a whole, not a good bunch. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. I'm glad. I mean, I would like to do the like, oh, I had a penis for a day sort of thing. But I'm glad that I am not subject to the whims of testosterone. Did you ever listen to that This American Life where a trans man was transitioning and starting to take a bunch of testosterone and had all of these like crazy urges? This is like a Liv Carter joke. That's like, I had all these urges to start a podcast, but it was not it. It was just basically he was saying that he looked at women in such a more like objectifying way and like truly was like on the subway like watching a woman's tits bounce and was like, I want to fuck her, and then was like, oh my god, what sort of thoughts am I happening? And it was just like truly the testosterone.
Oh, I'm sure. And like that's probably, you got to figure however old they were is how you felt like when you were 13.
Yeah.
Like 13 to 16.
Totally.
Where that you're getting that first hit of testosterone and you don't even really know how to handle it because you've never felt that way before. And you just, at that point, you're just like, you look at everything like you like super horny, like everything looks like something that like, you're so hot, I want to hook up with you, whatever happens. Like, can we kiss? Can I hold your hand? Even a horse. Well, that's the part that we were burying here, is that this was a trans person. No, I'm just kidding.
It was just the hormones.
All right, that's gonna do it for our dumb crimes of the week. All right, so you've actually done the live show before. You did the first one, actually.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. The promo video that I have still has a clip of you in it.
Cool.
Hope you know. If you don't know if you've seen it or not, but
I don't know if I have.
Yeah, I've been really happy with how the live show has been going, and just touring with it a bunch, which has been really fun. And I think it's nice to be able to offer something when I go to a place, instead of just being like, hey, give me whatever spots you have.
Yeah.
And to do something different. I think while, your guys' show is fun and different because like you get to have fun with your friends up top and not just have to do like traditional stand-up, right? Like you have an element built into it where you're like, we can be funny doing something else.
Yeah.
That isn't just like, hey, these are the jokes that I prepared.
Yeah.
And this is my set list for tonight.
And I think comics appreciate it too, because it's nice to do something different and be creative in a new way. And, you're telling the same jokes all the time.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just fun to be like, I don't know how this show's going to go, but it's not in my hands, I just tell a story and have fun with it.
Agreed. And I also think that it's important to remind ourselves that we're just funny people sometimes. Like it's not just about, I'm only funny because I wrote these jokes. It's like, No, you're like a funny. You do stand up enough, and you put yourself in enough situations where you're like, no, I know how to just be a goofy, silly, funny person, and then I can figure out a way to make this funny, even if it's not like polished or there's a punchline every 20 seconds or whatever. It's like I know how to like will this to at least be entertaining.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good muscle.
We like muscles.
It's a good muscle.
We like muscles.
Just being silly. I like being silly.
Agreed.
It's the best.
All right. So what story did you have for us today?
So this is just a crime that I've committed.
Well, like I said, it could be a crime you've committed, witnessed, or something where the police were involved. Because I know the story that you told for the live show is very interesting. I wasn't sure if it was going to be the same one or not. Totally can be. But totally, it's your call.
I think, well, yeah, in the live show, I talked about how I broke into my neighbor's house and I was a kid and found that he had this like huge box of dildos in the closet.
Mm-hmm. And he was single, right? Like
yeah,
he wasn't,
he was single.
Yeah.
And then he found out that I broke in and he came over to talk to me and was like, I'm going to tell your parents. And then I wrote him this letter that was like, if you don't tell my parents about the break-in, I won't tell anybody about that box of dicks in your closet.
That's wild.
And
how old were you again?
11.
The wherewithal on your part to know that you could call an adult's bluff.
Yeah.
Based on, I don't even know at 11 if I would have a pure understanding of what I'm looking at at that point in time. Yeah. So you already knew how to like take advantage of the situation.
Yeah,
Did you feel like I
was like a pretty manipulative child? I did a lot. I mean, this isn't really a crime, but one of the worst things I did as a kid in line with this is I was in 3rd grade when the Columbine shooting happened. And I grew up in Lakewood, very close to that high school. And so our elementary school went on lockdown. Just like there's like an active shooter in the area. We're on lockdown and whatever. I went home that night and I watched the news and I saw like pictures of all of the students that were shot and their lives lost. Cool story.
Yeah, of course. Never heard of it. So.
And I went back to school the next day and like the prettiest girl I saw on the TV, I lied and told my teacher that she was my babysitter. And my teacher was like, oh my God, like go to the office. She gave me a hall pass, was like, go see the counselor. And I just completely left the school grounds, did not go to the office, just like really wandered about the neighborhood all day.
Just kind of walked around.
I went to 7-Eleven. Some guy bought me Airheads. I had like... the best day of my life.
Literal candy from a stranger. Because you're skipping school.
Yes. So many bad things could have happened to me. And then I just, after like several hours had passed, went back to the classroom and was like, thanks.
Yeah.
And my teacher like clearly never talked to the counselor. If she did.
I'm sure at that period of time, nobody really knew what to do or how to treat students, in the sense of, like, if anybody expressed any kind of emotion or saying they needed to step away.
Right.
I don't think anybody was asking a lot of questions.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, sure, whatever you need kind of thing. Did you do that kind of shit a lot? Like, did you leave school a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah? Just walk out?
Yeah.
Skip? Whatever?
Yeah.
Where would you usually go?
I would walk around the neighborhood so my grandma's house was just a couple blocks away from the school. So I knew the neighborhood really well, but then there was this it was called the Green Belt, but it was like a park with trails and like a creek, and I'd like go skip stones there and stuff.
So just kind of be by yourself? Yeah, you weren't doing it with like a crew?
No.
Was it a matter of like you just didn't want to be around a lot of the people at school?
I don't know, actually. I haven't thought critically about it, but I think I was definitely like not interested in being in the classroom.
Yeah.
I was always trying to weasel my way out of.
Did you not like teachers? Were you not like a fan of like authority? Or were you bored?
I think I was bored.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was just like, this is stupid and I don't want to be here.
Did you play a lot of pranks? Were you a pranky person?
The only thing I can think of is my older brother had a tape recorder, and he, it was really small, took like tiny little tapes, and I
like the mini DV
took it out of his room, and I brought it to school, and My 4th grade teacher was named Mr. Jacobs, and he was a really weird guy. Like, he would clip his toenails in class.
Oh, gross.
And, like,
that's the worst thing I've ever heard on this podcast.
Be putting, like, lotion on his feet and stuff. And also, he was, like, 6'5", which, you know, now is... I'm 6 feet tall, so it's not that much taller than me now. But as a 10-year-old, he was just, like, this huge...
He's just a giant.
Huge guy.
Those toenails must have been 2 feet long.
I remember, like, we were learning long division, and he'd be writing on the board, and every time he'd turn his back, I would pull the tape recorder out of my toe tray, and I'd be like, Mr. Jacobs sucks. Like, Mr. Jacobs clips his toenails in class. And I'd be like, long division is stupid. This class sucks. And then the kid next to me was like, Mr. Jacobs, Kate has a tape recorder.
What a douche.
And then he confiscated it and, like, obviously listened to... just me being like, Mr. Jacobs is a piece of shit.
But it was really just for you.
Yeah.
Like, you just taper. I wasn't like you were playing it and everybody could hear it. You were just.
No. I just liked the idea of, like, talking shit about him when his back was turned. That's not really a prank, but I did get in trouble, and my mom was like, what is on this tape recorder? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just talking a bunch of shit.
Mostly just shit talking. Nothing crazy. It's not a manifesto or anything. Now,
but the crime I was thinking of telling, I don't know if it's not, I didn't get in trouble.
That's okay.
But I'm working on a joke about it now, because in high school, my biology teacher was this very eccentric woman. She was also like a creationist. So she'd be teaching us about evolution, but then she'd be like, but God made the world in 7 days. Don't forget. But technically, I have to tell you about this, but don't know. And we were like,
you just pick whichever one's more believable to you.
Yeah. And just like, this was a public high school. It's not like I went to Catholic school or something.
Yeah.
But she was just wild, and we would dissect things, and she hated the smell of formaldehyde. And so she'd be like, oh, we can't do this in the classroom. We can't do this in the classroom. And she'd make us, like, take whatever we were dissecting into, like, a completely non-sterile environment out into the high school parking lot.
Gotta love public education.
And just either on the asphalt or on the sidewalk would be, like, I remember the cats specifically were the worst, because we had to carry, like, entire cat carcasses out of the classroom.
I can't believe they let kids
into the parking lot, cut the cats open in the parking lot, and she was just like, it smells.
What a scene. You're just taking dead animals outside and just hacking them to pieces.
But because of that, there wasn't a lot of supervision of the
dead.
The
deceased.
And so I remember when my friend Brittany, her boyfriend cheated on her. It was the day we were dissecting cows' eyeballs.
What high school did you go to? I think we cut off at Frogs.
Bear Creek High School?
There's a lot of dead animals lying around.
Yeah, we did. I remember we did lambs, hearts, cows' eyeballs. Cats, I think, was like the big finale.
Were you on like a science track or something?
No, this was just
basic
biology.
I'm just telling you, this is an excessive amount of dissection.
And I think
for a high school.
I don't think I went for some circumstance, but I think there was a field trip where, like, you went and saw real human cadavers and, like,
that's like college shit.
Yeah.
Man, they just really wanted to, like, burn death into your brain from an early age.
I also took oceanography in high school, and we dissected, like, crabs and baby sharks and stuff too.
So would you say that you're pretty comfortable cutting open a organism?
I haven't done it in a really long time.
Okay, I don't know. It just sounds like you got a lot of reps in. That's all.
Yeah, I guess so. But yeah, when we did the cow's eyeballs, it was the day my friend Brittany had been cheated on, and we were, like, pissed, and we were like, we're going to get this motherfucker. And then we were like, let's take one of the eyeballs, and planned a bus stop drive-by, which is where you go by his bus stop. In your car, and one of you hucks the eyeball at him. Yeah,
and
then
as tradition.
Hits him in the head, and he's like, "Whoa, what hit me?" And then he has to pick it up, and
oh God, that's so fucked.
Deeply unsettling result.
You're saying it's so matter of fact
because he doesn't know what type of head it came out of.
Correct.
Too, he doesn't know this is just a cow.
Yeah, it's not spotted.
So I took the eyeball. No one noticed, obviously. And yeah, we drove by his bus stop, and I was the captain of the softball team, so I was the thrower.
Oh, so you got a good
and
huck into it.
I chucked it out of the car, and I hit the kid that was standing next to him, which was the only, not the only gay boy in the high school, but the only like openly out gay boy in the high school.
So now all of a sudden it turned into a hate crime.
It was a hate crime.
That's the thing about a drive-by is that
Yeah.
nobody thinks about the innocent bystanders.
I know.
You know, the whole community is affected.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So what was the aftermath?
Literally nothing happened. Like we didn't.
Did you apologize to the gay guy?
No.
What?
We just drove away, and
Did they know it was you?
I honestly don't know. Like no one ever said anything about it. Nothing came of it. In the joke, I'm saying that I did get in trouble, and my teacher was like, "Why'd you do that?" And I was like, "Oh, the kids at the bus stop were talking about the Big Bang Theory, and like saying evolution happened, and like it took billions of years for life to form." And so then she's like, "Oh, you're fine."
Fun. I love it.
But in reality, like I don't know, we weren't caught, nothing happened, but like I saw it hit him straight.
Did you see like a splatter?
No, not a splatter. I mean, they were like,
how big's a cow's eyeball
it's
anyway?
not that big.
Is it?
Like,
all right, so you wouldn't be able to be like, that's definitely like not a human, or was it bigger than that for sure?
I think if you're a high school kid, and an eyeball hit you, you wouldn't know for sure.
You're not
if it
trying
was
to think
human or
about
not
like,
human.
well, at least it's not
but
human.
it definitely had like more like cartilage. Like
Okay.
I feel like our eyes are like, you know, they're pretty and you see like the color and stuff. I feel like that part was much smaller and it was more like, you know how goat's eyes are like just like a slit and they're kind of weird.
Yeah.
It was just like a weirder eye with like
Something's askew, but you're not
Yeah.
really thinking about that when you just got smacked in the face
Yeah.
with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never got in trouble. There weren't police involved, but it is something I felt bad about.
That's true. Oh, for sure. And I'm glad you could get it off your chest.
Time.
Yeah, I'm glad you could tell
And
her.
I remembered that recently.
Well, that's fun that you're you're doing a
was
bit
like,
about
yeah,
it now
trying
too.
to joke
Yeah,
about it.
I've had a handful of those recently, like stories that I've been working on, and it's all like kind of conjuring up these things that happened in high school that I always thought wouldn't be funny to do on stage because, you know, the people that are here don't have like a lot of context for what happened. But now that I'm doing them, I'm like, oh yeah, these were always funny.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and we're probably proficient enough where we know what to cut and like what things to say to kind of give them some context in a quick kind of manner.
Yeah.
But I just don't know, like the story about how my one of my teachers hit, like, you know, remember the old external disk drives that would come on like Mac computers and they were like super heavy.
Yeah.
Like my tech teacher got super pissed one day, Mr. Forte, because the computers crashed, and he went to go throw the disk drive across the room in a rage, and he went super low and hit this kid square in the face and just starts bleeding profusely all over.
Oh
and
my God.
nobody knew what to do, and Forte just kind of was just like, oh shit. You know, and like he realizing in the moment that like, I'm going to lose my job. My life's over. And everybody covered for him. And even the kid that got hit in the face, everybody loved Forte.
Oh,
Like he didn't threaten
even though
anybody.
he had rage blackouts.
No, he was just
Everyone
like,
was
yeah. I think he was on a rough one, but he was one of those teachers that everybody adored. So it was like,
Oh
I don't think
my
anybody was going to be,
gosh.
I think maybe somebody was just like, yeah, I don't know, it just fell from the ceiling. But anyway, I'm telling that story now, and it's like fun to me because I'm like, oh yeah, I figured out how to make this funny, and you add punchlines to it throughout, and like whatever. But it's been sitting up there, in my brain for a while. Yeah, I don't know if that's something like your story is something you just thought about.
I think I maybe years ago thought about telling it on stage, and then whatever it went into the archives of thoughts wherever they go. But then I recently remembered it and was like, oh, I think I'm at a place now where I could make it funny. For sure. Because there were some things I used to smoke crack. And very early in my comedy career, I tried to talk about that. But like I didn't have the experience or voice to make it funny that I was like, oh, big old crackhead.
Yeah, of course.
So everybody just thought I was completely insane.
Yeah,
every time
I think I remember
talked about that.
Like, talking about it.
And now I'm just starting to also talk about crack again because I'm like, oh, okay. I think now I am more mature in my voice, more comfortable and confident, but also know how to make it funnier than when you're a new comic and you're telling a traumatic story and there's no joke. You're just like, yeah.
This is just what happened.
Crazy?
Yeah. All right. So when were you doing crack? Like what age?
I was 20.
20. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then how did it come up?
So the first time I ever did it truly was a crack accident because I was at the time I was in a bad relationship with a 40-year-old man who was an alcoholic, and I didn't know at the time, but a drug addict as well. But
could have probably seen that coming.
We got in a big fight, and I was walking home alone on Colfax and like crying. And this guy was like, "Hey, you want to smoke up?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love to smoke some weed."
Yeah.
And then he pulled out like a glass pipe, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's so poor, he can't even like the sad ass little pipe." But so I just didn't. And then I was like, "I don't know how to smoke out of that thing, so you'll have to." Like, I truly remember being like, "You'll have to shotgun me."
Wow, even in this situation, typical chick. Wow.
And
just
so
a typical girl. Will you light the bowl for me? You think you're gonna have to blow it into my mouth?
He blew it into my mouth, and
what is this guy looking like?
I mean, probably homeless. He wasn't.
He could still be good looking and homeless.
100% homeless because we did continue smoking together to the point where he was like, "I'm gonna go home and grab another rock."
That's the point where you're like.
I stayed in the parking lot and waited for him to get back.
Just
and
a new buddy.
Smoked another rock.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember after he shotgunned it into my mouth, I remember being like, what are we smoking?
It's an unfamiliar flavor.
He was like, "Oh, crack cocaine." And I was like, cool, okay.
But you didn't leave.
Because I felt great.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, like, I've done plenty of drugs in my life. I've never done that, and there's no shame in it whatsoever. I mean, it's just the sense of like, did you actually liked it though?
I did that time.
Sure.
And I think I also was like, I was 20, but I was like, I thought I knew everything about the world and was like, oh, this is such an interesting experience. And I remember asking him like, "So are you like addicted to crack?" And he was like, "No, like, I've gone a couple days without it." And I was like, "You're addicted." But we had this like whole conversation until the sun came up. Wow. And then he just, he walked me home, and it could have gone badly in so many different ways, but he was just nice. And I think we just had a nice night talking, smoking crack.
If nothing else.
But then when I got back to my boyfriend at the time's apartment, he was not there. And so I called him and I was like, "Oh my God, I just got back to your apartment. You're never going to believe what happened. I was out all night smoking crack." And he was like, "That's crazy. I was out all night smoking crack."
Get the fuck out of here.
And I was like, "You smoke crack?" And he was like, "Yeah, I kind of haven't been telling you about that. But like, if you were into it, like we could smoke together." And so then it kind of became more of a thing.
Yeah. Well, it's like.
Also, I was on summer break from college. So I was like I went to college in Rhode Island. And I'm just saying this for like continuity, that I was a student at an Ivy League university, coming back home for summer break and being a crack addict and then going back to my Ivy League university.
Uh-huh.
But
yeah, it's a real roller coaster.
Yeah.
What school did you go to?
Brown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Familiar.
So yeah, then at the whatever, things came burning down at the end of that summer, and then I just went back to college.
As crack does, yeah. Not usually a lot of happy
but
endings.
I would say it was like 3 months of
not.
I still had an internship, so it wasn't like I was doing it every day, but like most weekends of that summer break.
That's just so funny that it was like a rom-com. You just stayed up all night with this guy, having the time of your life.
We had a great combo. I've never seen him again.
Very innocent moment. And then you get home and you're like, wait a minute, I'm smoking crack too. We could do this together. Just the timing of it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a hot crack summer in Lakewood.
It really was.
Oh shit. Well, thank you so much for joining the show. It's always so fun to talk to you.
You too.
Love seeing you around, and I'm so happy for you guys. Like that things are going well with Firecracker, and you guys are doing your first tour. So I'm sure it's going to be amazing. And you already plugged all your stuff. So for anybody that's interested in checking out the live version of the show for Interrogation, we're doing one this Saturday at Bandit Oak Brewing in Denver. My buddy Mike Glazer from LA will be in town co-hosting it with me. We've got a fun cast of people that are going to be telling real crime stories. We'll do a Q&A session with them afterwards, and we have free donuts for everybody. You can grab tickets for that show and check out all of my upcoming tour dates at CoreyDavid.com. If you haven't already, like, review, subscribe to anything and everything that you're listening and watching this on. And thanks for joining, Kate.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Yeah.
Deuces.